Well, good day, everyone, and welcome to the pre-application webinar for the Office of Refugee Resettlement, Unaccompanied Alien Children Bureau, Home Study and Post-Release Services Notice of Funding Opportunity, also known as the NOFO. My name is Pedro Rodriguez, and I'm a project officer with the Unaccompanied Alien Children Program, and I am accompanied by my colleague, project officer Barry Milford. So let's review today's webinar objectives. First, we will provide an introduction and overview of the Unaccompanied Alien Children Bureau. Then we'll go through the steps on how to find the application on grants.gov, which will then be followed by a detailed summary of the NOFO, its requirements, the evaluation criteria, application tips, and additional resources available to you. And before we continue, let's pause here and take note of this important notice. Viewing this webinar is voluntary. It will not affect eligibility, application scoring, or award selection. The award agency contacts cannot provide technical assistance with the grants.gov platform. Please contact grants.gov for assistance with technical issues. To preserve transparency in the competitive funding opportunity process, the award agency contacts cannot provide information that is not included in the NOFO. Questions specific to your organization's application, eligibility, and/or program design cannot be answered. In the event of a discrepancy between the webinar and the NOFO takes precedence. As an introduction, the Unaccompanied Alien Children Bureau, or UACB, is under the Office of Refugee Resettlement, ORR, within the Administration for Children and Families, ACF, an operational division of the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, HHS. So, ORR was established as part of the Refugee Act of 1980, designated to support refugees, unaccompanied refugee minors, and Cuban and Haitian entrants. Since its establishment in 1980, Congress has continually expanded ORR's mandate to meet the evolving needs of refugees, asylees, survivors of torture, and victims of trafficking. In 2003, Congress expanded ORR's role to serve unaccompanied alien children. ORR's mission is to promote the health, well-being, and stability of refugees, unaccompanied alien children, and other eligible individuals and families through cultural responsive, trauma-informed, and strength-based services so that all new arrivals are welcomed with equitable, high-quality services and resources to maximize their potential as they integrate and assimilate into the United States. Services for unaccompanied alien children are authorized under the Homeland Security Act of 2002 and the William Wilberforce Trafficking Victims Protection Reauthorization Act, also known as TVPRA. So, who is an unaccompanied alien child? A unaccompanied alien child is a minor under age 18 who has no immigration status or no parent or legal guardian in the US, or whose parent or legal guardian in the US is unable to provide care and custody for the minor. Unaccompanied alien children often leave their home countries to rejoin family already here in the US, or to escape abusive family relationships or violent communities. Unaccompanied alien children are referred to OR by federal agencies such as the Department of Homeland Security. Most unaccompanied alien children are placed into ORR care because they were apprehended by immigration authorities while trying to cross the border. Other unaccompanied alien children are referred to ORR after encountering immigration authorities at some point after crossing the border. And just to make a special note, HHS plays no role in the apprehension or initial detention of unaccompanied alien children, and HHS is not a party to a unaccompanied alien child's immigration proceedings. So, through the Unaccompanied Alien Children Bureau, or UACB, ORR provides for the care and custody of unaccompanied alien children who enter the United States from other countries without an adult guardian. ORR cares for these unaccompanied alien children until they are safely placed with a vetted family member or a sponsor, or otherwise discharged from ORR's custody while their immigration cases proceed. In placement, ORR places the unaccompanied alien child in the least restrictive setting appropriate for their age and needs within ORR's network of residential and community-based providers. In care, or while unaccompanied alien children are under ORR care, unaccompanied alien children receive medical, clinical, case management, educational, vocational, recreation and leisure, nutritional, and other services before being released. During the same time period before a unaccompanied alien child is released, ORR determines whether to conduct a home study as required by the law or as necessary to ensure the safety and well-being of the unaccompanied alien child once released to the sponsor. At release, ORR releases the unaccompanied alien child to their vetted sponsor. ORR also offers the unaccompanied alien child and their sponsor voluntary post-release services, or PRS, through ORR's PRS provider network to support the unaccompanied alien child transition into their new community. The next couple of slides that we'll go over provide special insight on the Home Study and Post-Release Services, or HSPRS program, that ensures the safety of unaccompanied alien children as they assimilate into communities around the United States. HSPRS programs aim to ensure the safety and well-being of unaccompanied alien children after their release from OR custody to their sponsors. Home studies provide in-depth assessments and insight into the potential sponsor's ability to provide safe and appropriate care for the unaccompanied alien child. Post-release services provide ongoing supports and services necessary to facilitate successful community integration and family stabilization for unaccompanied alien children. Post-release services, or PRS, are the follow-up services required by the legislation of TVPRA. PRS provides ongoing safety and monitoring while coordinating access to critical services and supports for children, sponsors, and families through their transition process. The HSPRS program requires a national service model to ensure consistent support for unaccompanied alien children located across all areas of the United States. Our HSPRS programs serve unaccompanied alien children in high need areas as well as in remote locations. We want our HSPRS programs to assist unaccompanied alien children with their needs, such as, but not limited to, education, family stabilization, counseling, gang prevention, guardianship, mental health services, legal services, medical services, placement stability and safety, substance use services, integration, independence, youth programming, and other services as needed to ensure safety of our unaccompanied alien children. And as we've said before, home studies are in-depth assessments that look at the entirety of the household composition before a unaccompanied alien child is released to the sponsor from OR care. When conducting a home study, we expect our home study workers to interview the unaccompanied alien child at the ORR residential facility, along with interviewing the facility staff to see how the unaccompanied alien child is doing, and if there are any significant issues that should be considered when an unaccompanied alien child is released to the sponsor. Some facts to consider when conducting a home study include, but are not limited to, medical or mental health factors, if the unaccompanied alien child was trafficked, and what their connection or relationship is to the person or persons that want to take care of the unaccompanied alien child as their sponsor. Home studies also look at the house or home where the unaccompanied alien child will be staying once released. We want to know if the neighborhood is safe, what are the available resources nearby, does the home have all its amenities for the unaccompanied alien child? Does the home have a bed in a separate room dedicated to the unaccompanied alien child? How many people are living in the home? And lastly, the home study worker interviews all of the adults that are living in the home. What is it that they do for work? Can they provide for the unaccompanied alien child? Are there other children in the home? How are all of them related to the child? And do they even know how to care for the child? There are also several categories of home studies. TVPRA cases require a mandatory home study. If a unaccompanied alien child is a victim of trafficking, abuse, or has special needs or other risk concerns, we expect to have a detailed home study performed so that we can ensure the minor will be released to a safe and caring sponsor who can properly address those needs and circumstances. Another category for home studies is a ORR required home study. This category encapsulates home studies for sponsors who are not relatives to the unaccompanied alien child, or sponsors who have sponsored many unaccompanied alien children. And this type of home study is also for minors who are under the age of 12, also known as tender age. The third category for home studies is called a discretionary home study. ORR has the right to perform a home study to ensure the safety and child welfare of a minor before being released to the sponsor. As for timeframes, home study needs to be completed within 10 business days from the day you accept the referral to the day that you submit your home study report to ORR. So there are a lot of moving parts within the home study assessment process, like scheduling multiple interviews, accessing the home, coordinating travel to and from locations, and conducting a supervisory review of the report before submitting it to ORR. And for more information about home studies, you can always look at our ORR policy section 2. ORR offers PRS or post release services to unaccompanied alien children and their sponsors after the unaccompanied alien child is released from ORR. PRS providers connect unaccompanied alien children to voluntary community based services that provide unaccompanied alien children with support as they assimilate into our communities. PRS has several service levels known as Level 1, Level 2, and Level 3 PRS. These service levels are assigned to a unaccompanied alien child before being released from OR care. Once a unaccompanied alien child is assigned a service level, the PRS provider has the ability to elevate the PRS service level or lower the level of PRS only after a PRS provider has conducted a thorough assessment of the unaccompanied alien child's needs. So let's talk about level 1. Level 1 services are called virtual check-ins. There are 3 check-ins within 30 days. Check-ins are conducted within day 7, day 14, and 30 days post-release. Level 1 services provide support through phone calls, video chats, or other remote communication. These virtual check-ins are less intrusive, but allow caseworkers to stay connected with the unaccompanied alien child and their sponsors. Virtual check-ins are also used temporarily for children waiting for more intensive services. These check-ins make sure that the child is safe and their basic needs are being met. Caseworkers answer questions that the sponsor might have about caring for the child. Caseworkers connect the family with local resources like schools, healthcare, and community services. Caseworkers also help solve simple problems before they become bigger issues. And caseworkers check to see if the child needs more intensive support. Now let's look at level two, case management services, which the initial contact with the sponsor and minor must be within 2 days of the referral. And the first visit with the sponsor and minor must be within 14 days. Level 2 PRS cases have monthly in-person visits for 6 months. The importance of Level 2 services are that they provide more hands-on support through a combination of in-person visits and remote check-ins. Most unaccompanied alien children who receive a home study before being released from ORR care will have at least level 2 services assigned to them to ensure a smooth transition into their community. Case managers working at this level visit the home regularly to assess the child's adjustment and safety, help the sponsors navigate school enrollment and educational support. HSPRS providers assist minors enroll in their local school districts. Uh, these caseworkers also assist with medical and mental health appointments. They connect families with legal services for immigration proceedings. They provide guidance on assessing community resources. They help resolve conflicts between children and sponsors. And they also create and follow up on a service plan that's tailored to each of the unaccompanied alien child's needs. And these caseworkers also advocate for the child within the various service systems available to them. And level three is intensive in-home engagements that have the initial contact within 2 days and a scheduled first visit within 7 days, with weekly in-person visits after that for the next 6 months. Level 3 case management offers the most comprehensive support for children with complex needs or who are in challenging situations. Children who have faced trafficking, severe abuse, or have significant special needs typically receive this level of support. This level includes, like we've spoken about, frequent home visits, often weekly, specialized support for children with trauma, disabilities, or serious medical conditions, crisis intervention when needed, intensive family counseling and conflict resolution, coordinating with multiple service providers, hands on assistance with appointments and services, specialized safety planning and monitoring, and more extensive support for sponsors who need additional guidance. So, our PRS service levels focus on assessing the following to ensure the safety and stability of our unaccompanied alien children. They focus on legal services, immigration, guardianship, education, English language classes, health services, medical and behavioral health care, youth programming, placement stability and safety, guardianship, immigration assistance, employment assistance, substance use disorder prevention and treatment, gang prevention services, uh, services for children that may require some special considerations, integration, and independent support. And for more information, please review OR Policy Section 6, Post-Release Services. And now we will transition to Navigating Grants.gov with Project Officer Barry Milford.
Thank you, Pedro, and good day, everyone. As Pedro mentioned, my name is Barry Milford. I will be explaining how to navigate through grants.gov to find the application package. Go to grants.gov. Click on the Search Grant tab. Search by keyword or opportunity number or CFDA number, which is 93.676. Click on the green Search button. Select the funding opportunity from the list. Click on the blue Related Documents tab and open the full announcement folder for the active NOFO. Click on the blue Package box to preview the application and/or apply. This image shows grants.gov's landing page. This slide shows how to search for the application package by typing in keywords such as unaccompanied alien children. This slide shows you a screenshot of the synopsis or overview or the grant opportunity. Here is a screenshot of the Related Documents tab, which contain the Funding Opportunity Announcement, FOA, content as a PDF. This slide shows a screenshot of the Package tab and where to click to apply or preview the application package in grants.gov. Reviewing the funding opportunity, dates and funding opportunity numbers. Funding opportunity, home study and post-relief services for unaccompanied alien children. Funding opportunity number, HHS 2026 ACF ORR ZU 0019. Publication date, May 22nd, 2026. Application due date, June 23rd, 2026. Award date, September 29th, 2026. The next slides review NOFO content, requirements, evaluation criteria, and resources. Here is the federal award information. Estimated total funding, $258 million. Expected number of awards, 15. Award ceiling, $50 million. Award floor, $1 million. Anticipated project start date, September 29th, 2026. Length of project period, 5-year project period with 5 one-year budget periods. Type of award, cooperative agreement. If you plan to apply for this funding opportunity, plan ahead. Sections 4.3 of the NOFO provide information on the following requirements. You must have a unique entity identifier, UEI, and an active registration system of award management, SAM, at SAMS.gov prior to applying. And let me repeat that. You must have a unique entity identifier, UEI, and an active registration with the System for Award Management, SAM, at SAMS.gov prior to applying. Your SAM registration must be renewed every 365 days to remain active. If you do not have a UEI or an active SAM registration, allow efficient time to complete registration and obtain your UEI. No grant award will be made based on an incomplete application. No grant award will be made to an application or applicant without a UEI and an active SAM registration. The next slides review application content and format. Please review these sections carefully and ensure that all required information is included. Recommended formatting for submitting your application. Files. Maximum of 200 pages. File 1 plus File 2 combined. Format. PDF is recommended. Document. Standard 8.5 by 11 paper size. 1-inch margin. English. Included page numbers. Font. Time New Roman. Black. 12 points. 10 points for footnotes and tables. Spacing. Table of content and project summary must be single spaced. Project narrative must be double spaced. Budget, attachments, tables, and footnotes single spaced. Note, do not include external links. Reviewer scores only what is included in the application. Please take note of the eligibility and disqualification factors included in the NOFO. Ensure your application meets these requirements. Eligibility criteria. Eligibility for this opportunity is unrestricted. Faith-based and community organizations that meet the requirements are eligible. Disqualifying factors. We will not consider an application that is from an individual, including a sole proprietorship, federal entity, or foreign entity, is received in paper format without a previously approved exemption from ACF, requests funding above the award ceiling. Required components within the project narrative attachment form. Please include the following: table of contents. Project summary must be 1 page. Geographic location. Your approach. Project performance evaluation plan. Organizational capacity. Protection of sensitive or confidential information. Plan for oversight of federal award funds and activities. Line item budget and budget narrative. Proprietary or personal identifiable information, PII. Additional required documents within the second attachment. Indirect cost agreement. Legal proof of for-profit status. Legal proof of small business status. Organizational capacity supporting information. Legal status of applicant entity. And finally, third-party agreement. Along with your application, there are required documents to submit within grants.gov. First, we have application for federal assistance, SF424. Unique Entity Identifier, UEI, and SAM registration. Budget information for non-construction programs, SF424A. Key contacts, grants.gov lobbying form. Disclosure of lobbying activities, SFLLL. Now back to Pedro Rodriguez with the application review process. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much, Barry. Yeah, let's talk about the application review process, which includes a two-part review process. The first part is the initial review, So we will review your application to make sure that it meets the responsiveness requirements listed in the disqualification factors section that was previously addressed a couple slides ago. If your application does not meet these criteria, we will disqualify it and we will not move it to the next part of the review process, the merit review or scoring phase. We will let you know if your application is disqualified within 30 days of the application deadline, but you won't receive any notice from ACF if your application failed grants.gov validation checks. If you submit more than 2 files, in addition to your forms, we will remove the extra files and we will let you know if this happens. We will also remove blurred or illegible pages and any file formats that are not supported. We will not review any pages that exceed the page limit. If your application fails to adhere to ACF's NOFO formatting, font, and page limitation requirements, we will adjust your application by removing the page or pages from the application. We will remove the pages before the merit review and will not send them to the reviewers. If we do so, we will send you a letter after we make awards to notify you that we amended your application. So let's talk about the merit review process. It's a panel of reviewers that will review all applications that pass the initial review. The panel members use the criteria shown here in each section of the project narrative and in the line item budget and also the budget narrative section. As we can see with this graph, criteria summary, purpose and need, 40 points. Response, 40 points. Impact, 20 points. Resources and capabilities, 25 points, where you will have a maximum scoring of 125 points. So in reviewing the application selection process, here lists our considerations when funding a recipient, as well as our reasons not to fund in whole or in part certain applications. So when making a funding decision, we consider the merit review and scoring results. These are key in making decisions, but are not the only factor. We also consider the population that the organization is serving. We look at the larger portfolio of the agency's funded projects and their geographic distribution. We examine the past performance of the applicant, the application's compliance with the NOFO prohibition on using funds awarded under this NOFO to support DEI and DEIA activities. We also consider any initiatives that discriminate on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, national origin, and another protected characteristic. We may fund applications in whole or in part. We may fund applications at a lower amount than requested. We may decide not to allow a prime recipient to subaward if they may not be able to monitor and manage subrecipients properly. We may decide not to fund a project with high startup costs or unreasonably high operational costs. We may choose not to fund applications with management or financial problems. We may designate your application as approved, but unfunded if it was successful, but there was not sufficient funding to make an award. You may receive funding if additional funds become available within the fiscal year, and we may choose to fund no applications under this NOFO. And we will not fund a disqualified application, and we will not fund an incomplete application. award notices and contacts for the HSPRS program, along with additional details about the Notice of Award, or NOAA for short. So if you are successful, we will email or transmit through our grant systems a Notice of Award, NOAA, to your authorized official. We will email you if your application is disqualified or unsuccessful. The NOAA is the only official award document. The NOAA tells you about the amount of the award, important dates, and the terms and conditions you need to follow. Until you receive the NOAA, you have not received an award. Project costs that you incur before you receive a NOAA are at your own risk. And by drawing down funds, you accept the terms and conditions of the award. The award incorporates the requirements of the program and funding authorities, the grant regulations, the GPS, and the NOFO. If you want to know more about NOAA content, go to Notice of Award at ACF's website. And as we begin to end this webinar, we want to leave you with application tips, helpful tips for staying on task and submitting your application on time. So read the complete funding opportunity carefully. Make note of the requirements and clearly address them in the application. Review the criteria that will be used to score the applicants. Present the information in an organized and easy to follow manner. Begin to prepare the application early and do not wait until the last minute to submit the application. The budget should include adequate funds to carry out the proposed work plan, evaluation plan, and administrative responsibilities of the project. Budgetary costs should be reasonable, allocable, program related, and commensurate with the types and range of activities to be conducted. Do not request more funds that are available as listed in the NOFO. This amount is inclusive of indirect costs. Staffing should be appropriate and reasonable for the goals, objectives, and activities of the proposed project. And be complete in describing what staff will do, the expertise required, and the percent of time they will be assigned to the project. And here are available resources that can be found by accessing the websites below. And I would strongly advise that you thoroughly review these links before you make your application. So first, we have a link to our website. Second, we have a link to our fact sheet and data. Third, we have a link to our policy guide. We've gone over section 2 and section 6, but I would advise that you thoroughly review the whole policy. Next, we have grant opportunities that are available, which also has our forecasts and more information about grants. And lastly, we have our grants award page, where you can also find more information about the NOAA, or Notice of Award. And thank you so much for your interest. The webinar, the slides, and additional information will be on our website. Thank you.